Who remembers the drone disruption at Gatwick Airport just before Christmas? Yeah, I think one of my colleagues actually missed his flight. So planes were grounded for about 33 hours. Does anyone want to give a guess or hazard a guess as to how much that cost? Anyone? No? 50 million, apparently, for that. There were no fatalities, all the planes were grounded, so that was fine. It transpires a similar event sort of happened at Heathrow, something similar again in Dubai earlier this year, and there was a near crash in Newark, apparently, this year. So, it's something we all need to be considering, certainly if you're an airport. Now, Liam Fox, the British Transport Secretary, questioned whether, the Transport Minister, no, at the time. Okay, thank you. Does the tech actually exist to combat and deal effectively with drones? Can we actually detect drones? Can we jam them? Can we detain them? Can we capture them? What can we do? And hopefully our next expert will be able to share some information on that. He comes from Miltronix, and his official title is Chief Technology Officer, although he very humbly said to me, I'm just the design guy. Please would you welcome to the stage Sunil Sood from Miltronix.
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. As per the introduction, my name is Sunil. I'm the Chief Technologist at Miltronix. We as a company, our business is designing radars for various applications, civilian, military, homeland security, technologies all related to radars and radars and radars. That's it. I'm just going to give you a brief introduction on what we do, the company's products, and where the technology is heading, and how we've been, with special focus, of course, on drone detection technologies and where it is today. So briefly, we have 4 categories of products in the domain of radars. We do the 3D bird detection radar system, which detects basically bird activity around airports and airfields and helps mitigate the risk from birds to aviation. You'll be surprised that bird hits have been around ever since aviation has been around, and threat from birds has been around ever since aviation has been around, whereas threats from drones is very recent. It's not a sexy subject to talk about in terms of how relevant bird hits can be to aviation, but trust me, it costs way more than a threat from drones can be or is as of today. For example, in the US alone, every year, over $1 billion worth of losses occur because of birds hitting aircraft or causing damage to flying aircraft in and around airports. That's $1 billion. Anybody who's seen the film Sully would know that what birds can do to aviation. So that's one of our products that we are now we believe we have a unique solution to the problem. We have a world's first and only 3-dimensional bird radar, which gives you a 3D visualization of bird activity in and around an airport. Also has an integrated deterrent system, which helps to mitigate the risk so that you can disperse the birds from the areas where aircraft are flying. Like I said, it has a detection and monitoring and deterrence functions built in. This is the first of its kind anywhere. Our competitors offer 2-dimensional systems whereby they don't give you the height the bird is flying at, which is not very much use if you're trying to deter the birds. We also have a drone detection system, which I'm going to go in further detail. Drones have been a threat, I guess, an increasing threat over the last 5 years or so, ever since they've become a household item where amateurs can buy them for a couple of $100 and cause a nuisance. Unfortunately, to a radar, a bird and a drone is the same. There is no difference as far as a typical radar, a primary radar is concerned. So what we have done is we've adapted our bird radar technology to detect large mini micro UAVs and drones. It's like our bird radar, it's a electronically scanning 3-dimensional radar, and it has incorporated countermeasures within the system. I'm going to come to more details. As we all know what the threat is from drones, they can be used by amateurs, they can be used as a potential threat from people who are not so nice to society, the terrorists of this world. So, as you can see, there are different threat levels from drones. Now, what do we do about it? What are the challenges in detecting drones? Like I mentioned earlier, to a radar, a bird and a drone look the same. So for people like us to differentiate between, when we do the scan, to differentiate between whether the target is a bird or a drone is not easy. And I'm putting it very mildly, it's not. Anybody tells you that his radar can detect, differentiate between a bird and a drone is lying. It's just the technology as of today is not there for purely just a radar to detect and tell you that that's a drone and not a bird. Has a very small radar cross section, which means detecting, just like a bird, is not easy. It's a difficult problem. So what do? Our goals were that it was pretty clear to us that radar by itself is not a solution, or not even close to being a solution. So we had radar detection. One of the characteristics of drones is that most of them communicate with the ground person or ground station where they get instructions from, where they are being controlled from. Then you have, what we did was we detected whatever we could scan in the sky, which is birds and drones. Birds don't transmit anything or receive anything. So then we have a RF passive listening device which listens to any transmissions coming from the ground. Then we compare the two and thus filter out the birds from potential drones. We believe it's still not safe to take countermeasures and start firing jammers and other measures. So we have built in an electro-optical device, very high resolution daylight and night camera, IR cameras, which validate whether the target that's been selected by the system is a drone or a bird. And then you take RF GPS jamming or neutralization techniques, and of course there's a drone net catcher which some is being offered. We are not convinced that that's something that is, as of today, is a workable solution. So the system that we are offering comprises of radar, so it detects everything that's flying in the sky. We have a high resolution visual IR camera for validation. We have a passive drone listening device which listens to any transmissions. It has a long-range RF jamming for threat mitigation. You have drone net catchers, and of course the usual pan and tilt and to move the jammers in the direction of the drone. So the system architecture looks like this. You have a central command and control system which controls the radar, the passive RF sensor, and the high-resolution cameras. And then depending on, once the operator is absolutely sure that it is actually a drone, then it can engage RF jammers or GPS jammers to bring the drone down. Some people have suggested firing lasers. Frankly, a lot of these solutions, as of today, are not workable around airports. Can you imagine Heathrow or Gatwick or any other airport allowing you to fire lasers while aircraft are flying in the sky, or allowing you to even fire jammers, RF jammers, because that'll jam a lot of other RF equipment around the airport. So these are potential solutions, but frankly, The technology as it exists today, there is no perfect, or in my opinion, personal opinion, although we are trying to sell these systems, there is no credible solution that is out there right now to take care of this problem. So in fact, Liam Fox was actually correct in saying that technology as of today does not offer a solution that can help you solve this problem. Yes, there are systems like ours that are trying to reduce the risk, that are trying to detect these threats, but hand on my heart, it's not a perfect solution. And I don't think there will be a perfect solution unless they start putting transponders on governments make it mandatory that a drone cannot be sold unless there is a transponder in it, and then they can be tracked. I mean, governments have been able to control gun manufacture, so why can't they control drone manufacture and make it mandatory for all drone manufacturers to put transponders on them? I guess it will come. I don't think the realization has come to the governments that how big a threat that these things can be. But as of today, it's still work in progress. We also offer a foliage penetration radar. These are to detect the bad guys who operate under foliage. They hide in the cover of forests and other foliage and do all kinds of bad stuff, like drug manufacture in Latin America, or the bad guys, the terrorists in India and Southeast Asia. So this is a solution for that. Outside of the US military, this is the only solution available for anywhere in the world, and the US military does not export foliage radar technology even to its allies like the UK and NATO. It's strictly prohibited for export. We offer a solution which is non-ITARs, has no control by the US government, and we offer that to countries that are obviously friendly to the UK and other Western countries. You can detect, like I said, anything that's hiding under foliage. This can also be used for mine detection, for IED detection. These are airborne radars. They're mounted at the base of an aircraft, and they fly 15,000 feet to 20,000, 25,000 feet out of range of small firearms, and can detect targets which are either moving or even stationary under foliage. So this is really cutting edge technology that we've been working on for the last 5-6 years, and we've now managed to have a solution that is commercially viable and technically excellent. We also offer a ground surveillance radar family, which basically is used for border management, for homeland security, for high value asset security applications, where you can detect. One of the things that we always tell our customers is that this is the only radar, ground surveillance radar, that can detect a crawling man up to 2 kilometers or up to almost 1.5 miles away from the radar, which is not easy because the crawling, the radar cross section of a crawling man is smaller than that of a bird. So to detect a crawling man, very slow moving, at up to 2 kilometers away is quite an achievement. This is probably a very unique feature of this radar. These can all be networked, and you can have them along the border. So this is great applications, for example, in countries like India. We have been, in fact, for most of our products, we have a huge market in India, which we've been trying to penetrate. It's not an easy market, especially because we sell to the governments and to the military and to the homeland security guys, where the processes in India are, relatively speaking, are much slower than in the Western world. And so we have been working on it, and we are very close to getting some very significant success. That's just a brief introduction on our products. And if anybody has any questions, I'll welcome.
Sorry, is there a microphone? Thank you, Anna. want to quickly say something. Thank you to the gentleman ahead. There is a correction. It was indeed Chris Rayless.
Oh,
Yes, so I apologize for misleading you.
no problem.
Around so much, but yes.
Sure.
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
Hello? Okay. I was interested to know if the anti-radar technology used by the military forces around the world would apply to drones.
Not quite, because drones transmit, or the ground stations transmit to drones, and they transmit back to the ground station at very low frequencies. They are in the few megahertz, of 100 megahertz, hundreds of megahertz, whereas radars are in gigahertz. So anti-radar technology would be trying to jam radars, which are typically in X-band or S-band or C-band, which are very high frequency transmissions. So whereas drones, they use frequencies of, used by the Wi-Fi systems, which are, few hundred megahertz. And so it's not, they really, what you can do is what we do is with jammers, for example, is we transmit at the same frequencies which they transmit at, and we just inundate it so that it just loses control. And when they lose control, the drones actually come down to ground. That's how drones are programmed. So.
Okay, could I have one more question?
Sure, and then we'll go to the gentleman.
Okay, and I was very, very interested as well when you said that the radar can detect people crawling through.
That's correct.
Foliage. Very, very
Not through foliage, sorry. We can detect people walking under foliage, not crawling. That's not quite.
Okay. So
And usually people will not crawl under foliage. They know they're hidden from anything above, or at least camera. Exactly. So they actually generally walk anyways.
But what's the process of the technology? I mean, it's not like infrared or something like that.
No. This is radar, purely simple radar technology. So you transmit electromagnetic waves.
Yeah.
The difference is that what happens is that electromagnetic waves are reflected back by the target. So a non-foliage radar would reflect all the energy back from the foliage, from the canopy, from the forest canopy. So it won't be able to penetrate. So you won't be able to see anything what's hiding under the canopy. So where we are different is we use frequencies and technology that penetrates the foliage, the canopy of the forest, and sees what's underneath, either moving or static.
So would it penetrate a Faraday cage?
Penetrate what, sorry?
A Faraday cage.
Yes and no. For example, one of the applications for our radars is in a country like Saudi Arabia, for example, where we are in fact right now negotiating for a contract. They want to detect tanks and vehicles hidden under camouflage, right? Which has got, some of these modern camouflage nets have got some metal meshing, it has got some, like a tarpaulin cover. So they want, and they put leaves and stuff on it, right?
Camouflage net.
Camouflage
But
nets.
but if it was a Faraday cage, camouflage net, grounded,
Right.
would it be able
It would be able to,
penetrate?
yes, it will penetrate.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it'll penetrate.
I had an idea there for a Faraday suit.
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
Sure.
I don't want to go into the jargon or the compliance. Can an individual acquire or buy things
Sorry.
from
Sorry, what was that? An individual acquired?
Sorry,
Make
no,
an
what
order,
we'll do
make
is
an
we'll
order.
get you the microphone in a moment. There's just one question
There's
going
a
on.
lot of technical
One
jargon
moment. Yes.
and a lot of clever people.
Does your ground surveillance system work, for instance, in all weather conditions? Or
Yes, it is. All
adverse weather conditions.
Yeah,
where which don't work?
absolutely. All radars actually are independent of weather conditions. Be it rain does cause some attenuation and you lose some signal strength, but they still work. All radars are designed to work in all weather conditions through cloud cover, through fog. That's the advantage of radars. That's why radars are used.
And would this be a cheaper solution than building a wall on the Mexican border?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think
Sorry, on a serious note, please. Can an individual or an individual company acquire, buy without serious red tape or compliance some of this equipment?
depends which country you're in.
Not in the UK.
In the UK, relatively speaking, yes. If you have a genuine application, companies would not sell to individuals technology like this.
A company will be created.
Oh,
for this
okay.
purpose.
Yes. That's.
Yes.
It's not a problem. It takes to get permission. This is about a 1 week to 2 weeks process in this country.
And are we talking from 500,000 plus or a million?
No, some of them are cheaper than that.
I think we might be in business. So an individual actually can force the demand and the supply and get two parties together.
Sorry,
A country, for example, Uganda wants to buy something.
Right.
I'm a subcontractor like Maggie Thatcher's son. Not for Saudi though, for somebody else. And I might become a consultant and place an order.
Yes, that's possible.
Thank you very much.
That's
I
possible.
will look deeply into this.
Sure.
I'll ask
Thank
the
you.
secretary.
Thank you very much for your time.
Could we have one more question?
Sure.
We have one here. Microphone's just coming. Barry Tomlin, 72.
One area, Sunil, that you haven't covered, I think probably quite intentionally, is you're looking at the use of drones to surveil, spot. You're not looking at the use of drones to attack.
That is correct.
There is a huge demand in places
Yes.
like Yemen, India, other
Yes.
countries to say, stop these drones.
Yes.
Don't let them attack and kill innocent
What?
people.
I
Now,
actually-
where does that fit into your scenario,
Sure.
if at all?
No, I actually deliberately did not cover that aspect of it. Our radars are perfectly capable and designed to detect those kind of drones. In fact, they are much easier to detect than these small camera-fitted drones, which have very small RCS. Any weaponized drone that has got any ammunition on it is much easier for a radar to detect than a small quadcopter or a small drone. So
There's a movement now to ban all drones because of this kind of activity. So
Absolutely.
the question is, what does that do to your business?
Well, actually, I can't imagine them being banned, but I do imagine and I visualize that they will be controlled just like guns are controlled, and people would need licenses. I think we are already moving in that direction, because now you have to register, you have to, countries have brought in legislation where you have to be trained. So by training, that means you automatically come on some kind of licensing regime where you need like a driving license for a car, so you need a license to fly one of these things. So we are moving towards a direction. But the problem is not that. The problem, in my opinion, is that unless governments bring in legislation to make it mandatory for drone manufacturers to put some kind of ID transmitting device on them, which can be very low cost. These things cost about $5, $10. They can be built for that kind of money. And then control them and monitor them. And in the long term, I believe something of that nature is the only solution. And then have secondary radars, not primary. These are primary radars. Have secondary radars that listen to those transmissions and detect them and map them. I think that's that. And sooner or later, maybe 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, who knows? But sooner or later, I believe that technology will have to move towards that.
There must be licensed now for commercial use anyway.
Sorry?
There must be licensed now.
Yes, but I think the problem is the commercial use guys are not the problem. The problem are the amateurs and the bad guys who,
Yeah, criminal can
exactly.
The criminal can get one.
Sometimes reputable governments who would never ever be considered bad guys except by their opposition.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Sunil, was there a video you wanted to share?
Yeah,
Here's the video.
I would just like to add one thing. Right now, we are working on a solution. The system that you saw here was a much larger, like a fixed installation. We have we'll soon be launching within the next month or 2 months, a mobile portable version which can be put on the rooftop or on the ATC tower rooftop or anywhere along the airport or any other site. And it's a much more portable system. Has the same specifications, but it's just configured as a portable device.
Could I ask one last question? Would that be possible?
Sure.
It's such an interesting session.
Because it's you.
It really is.
I know. And then we'll ask one question of Simon and one question of Atul as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, what's the difference between this technology and the technology on board?
Is it on?
On, sorry. Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah.
What's the difference between this technology and the technology, let's say, on a warship or on a fighter jet?
Not much.
Detecting missiles.
Not much, except that has more stringent specifications, which takes you into use of devices that are much more expensive because they are military use devices. So in the core technology is the same. A radar is a radar is a radar, right? The core of the technology is the same. Where these days 70% of a radar is software. The hardware pretty much remains the same if it's the same frequency band. So by configuring the software in a way, you can have different applications from the same kind of hardware. So to answer your question, the core remains the same, except that you go up in use higher level specs, and that makes it more expensive. And of course, once you get into that domain, companies tend to charge 4, 5, 10 times the price because that's the nature of the market.
Thank you very much.
Great question. So how easy is it to deploy your solutions?
The current system takes about half a day to deploy it, to set it up and train the customers, takes a couple of days at most. And for the portable one would be even less than that. That's man portable. It will be 2 people would be able to carry the entire system and install it within an hour or so.
And do you lease?
Yes, we do. As it happens, we do. Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yeah. No, we do. We do.
Questions at the end now. And the networking. Thank you so much. Thank
You're
you
welcome.
again. Please.
You're welcome. Thank you.